just broke down at the counter. I feel sorry for that poor girl. And in all honesty, in that moment, I had no freaking idea what being a mother really is. I didn't realize that I had brought my childhood trauma into my parenting experience. Welcome to the Motivate to Elevate podcast. I am your host, Coach Korry. This is the place we move from motivation to elevation. Today's episode is going to be real. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be raw. Why? Because I will be sharing with you my own motherhood journey. And let me tell you, I have learned a thing or two over the years, and I want to help you not to have burnout, not to go crazy in that journey, so that when you are older and your kids have left the nest, you can still be a diva. You can have purpose, you can have intention, and you can show up as the best version of yourself. Hello. So let's start at the very beginning. I'm one of those people who got married quite young, at 23. I know, scary, right? But then it was perfectly normal. And soon thereafter, moved from Kenya to the US and was excited, looking to start my own family. And by the grace of God, I got pregnant. Now that's where our journey starts. Now I'm about to be a new mom for the first time in a foreign country. I have no clue what to do, how to do, no support system, and really no family. Well, my brother was here, but I don't think in this scenario he was going to be very helpful. Come see me. Anyway, looking at myself out, the excitement of pregnancy. I couldn't believe there was something growing on the inside of me. And by God's grace, my pregnancy was relatively easy when I now understand what pregnancy can do, except that I had to have my pineapples every day. Yes, I had to have a can of pineapples. I had to eat another can of what they call chili. Chili is like a mixture of beans with ground beef and a lot of spices. I don't know why the baby wanted this. The baby wanted it. The baby had it. So then the next thing is it's time to deliver the baby. And so we go to hospital and baby comes. Hey, this is where it all starts. During the prenatal care, my doctor had asked me whether I want to do epidural. And I was like, I am an African woman. I got this. I was sure this girl was not going to need it. Being the African woman I am. Can you see? Why would I need an epidural? Where? Come labor. Yes. I experienced a pain I did not know existed. How I asked for that epidural, quick. I didn't care the size of the needle. The pain was enough. Anyway, did the epidural thing. Baby came and was a bouncing, beautiful baby girl. They give me this baby and I'm boohooing. I am crying. Why am I crying? I experienced a love I had never experienced in my life. I didn't even know such a love existed. And so I was so happy. I was so grateful and very hungry as well. So baby comes, and then, these children don't come with a manual. Hey, I'm being taught how to breastfeed. I'm being taught all the normal things that they teach new moms, and emotionally, I'm going through highs and lows. 1 minute I'm happy, the other minute I'm anxious, I'm confused. Will I make a good mom? I have self-doubt on the inside of me. I'm not sure. Yes, I know I'm going to be a mom, and now all of a sudden this bundle of joy is looking to me and is helpless and needs me to know what I'm doing. And in all honesty, in that moment, I had no freaking idea what being a mother really is. I knew I was excited during pregnancy. I knew I wanted to have a family. But the journey of motherhood was downright scary when I started to think about it. I didn't know how I was going to be able to communicate with this little being on what they wanted and what they needed, because they didn't have the capacity to even speak. The only language they knew is crying. Anyhow, we're given that brief that you get in hospital, we go home, and it starts. Motherhood starts. And what's the first thing that starts? No sleep. Okay? Now let's not even talk about that the body has its own shape. I'm one of those people who thought that once baby comes out, I'll go back to looking sexy, looking beautiful. Chineke, nobody prepared this girl. Oh. Nobody told me that my belly was still going to look like I was pregnant. How now? So now I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I don't feel beautiful. I really don't. I'm trying to put some lipstick on, and in any case, there's no time for all that because we have this child who needs me. And then trying to get this child to sleep. It was hard. Trying to get a baby schedule. Trying to understand, to supplement formula with breast milk because I have to go back to work. And I had to go back to work after 6 weeks of delivery. That was very, very traumatizing. And then I got hit by not a high version of postpartum depression, but I did get hit by this hormonal imbalance. I go to the store, I needed to buy diapers, and I go to the checkout counter, and apparently back then they had these counters where you could only pay cash and then the others were credit, and I didn't have cash. I had my card, and I was so ready to just check out and go back home because I'd left the baby with my mom and I didn't know if this baby's gonna need some breast milk, blah blah blah. And then they tell me, I get to the counter and she cannot check me out because I didn't have cash. And I just broke down at the counter. I feel sorry for that poor girl because there was nothing wrong that she did. I didn't read. And I didn't have the capacity to think in that moment. And I just broke down. And I think the person at the next counter realized I was having a meltdown. And everybody, now all the people around that whole checkout place are looking at me. And I'm like, and it was just ridiculous. We did not know about postpartum depression. And so thank God for, the person at the next counter. They were able to check me out quickly. I literally just skipped the line. In all honesty, I skipped the line. I think everybody was like, just get her out. We don't need this drama. And so that was nerve-wracking. It shook me. I didn't understand what had happened. I didn't have anybody to tell. Even though mom was there, I don't know why I didn't tell her. Probably because we didn't have that kind of a relationship. I grew up in a very traditional Kenyan home, and my mom raised us by herself. And so she had gone through her own share of trauma. And so I just didn't feel like I could share that. I didn't even know it was a thing, honestly. So anyway, we are raising this child, okay? And so I had to take my little baby to someone to take care of them in an institution and hope for the best. It literally broke me. And this child cannot talk. So when I'm picking her up in the evening, I don't know if she's really been fed. I don't know if she's okay. She can't speak, she can't tell me. And remember, back then there were no cameras in daycares and stuff like that. I mean, it was just difficult, not to mention very expensive. So what's this doing to this girl? It's breaking me one piece at a time. And what's beginning to happen? I'm smiling on the outside, but I'm broken on the inside. And then my morning routine was chaotic. I have to work to put food on the table. Hubby is also working. But I feel like I'm picking up all the weight because I'm the one going to take this child to daycare in the morning. I'm the one who's going to work. I'm the one who's coming back in the evening and picking up this kid. And even though we had tried doing both shifts, it was brutal. Let me just put it out there. It was brutal. My routine was brutal. So brutal that one day I forgot to drop this child in daycare and went to work with her. And laugh about it now. It was not funny. Now come see me. Get out of the car, look behind, and see Jerry seated in her child's seat. This child had not muttered a word the whole time, and it was a 1-hour drive to work. And where I was taking her for childcare was going to be about 40 minutes. It was so depressing because now I had to go back, take her to childcare, come back, be late for work, and be docked. Yes, that was my experience. Another time, I went to work with 2 different shoes. I just felt like my life was out of control. I was simply existing. I literally abandoned myself. I didn't know how to balance motherhood and Korry. I didn't. So what did that translate to in my day-to-day life? It meant no new clothes. It meant every time I went shopping, I'm thinking about other people and not me. It meant that I started looking a little bit haggard, didn't have time to take care of my hair, my nails, and even when I wanted to rest, I just couldn't. I lost myself. It was all about the baby. And the biggest problem is not just losing myself, but not knowing that I had lost myself. I think for me, later on when I look back, I feel like that's the bigger tragedy, that I didn't know how I had lost myself, and even at what point I had lost myself. I sacrificed myself. I sacrificed everything because I wanted the best for my family, but at what cost? Now here's the other thing. I didn't realize that I had brought my childhood trauma into my parenting experience. And so as a parent, I ended up parenting along the same lines that I was parented. Remember, these kids don't come with a manual. And also remember, trauma does not disappear because you have a baby. That's not how it works. You will drag your trauma everywhere you go, whether you like it or not. As long as you don't deal with it, as long as you don't acknowledge it and deal, you will carry it into your relationships, into your finances, into your parenting experience, into your job, everything. I had carried mine. My whole, abandonment, how I was abandoned as a child by my father, into my marriage, into my parenting experience, into everything. It was just a part and parcel of how I was showing up. Yeah. And so as a mom, it was tough. It was so tough. Yet in that moment, imagine me as knowing I am the best mom. In fact, if there was going to be a trophy being given out for best mother in the whole world, Allah, it would have my name, Korry. I was not Coach Korry. It was Korry Bashir, best mother in the world. Why not? Tell me why not? From sunrise to sunset, it's me and that baby, me and that toddler as she was growing, me and that young adult, me and that child. And even when I got the other one, my second child, I was that mother who was always present. And here's the thing, I ended up giving my children the things I lacked. And in some ways, I'll talk about that later on lessons learned. Okay, I gave them everything I missed that I felt I should have had growing up. And I also disciplined. I was mama discipline. Hey, you did not want to cross me. Anyone who knew me when I had young children, I was not that mother you mess with. My children were going to be like this, straight. I was your typical African mother. You know the one they make memes of? That was me. I was also that mother that protected my children. They were not going to go through that nonsense I went through. Oh no. And so anytime I felt that situation was not right for my children, I made sure I did not expose them. Who else can identify with me? Mother hen. Yeah, I was right there. Now the other thing, before I knew it, my children became my emotional center. Yes. See, life had disappointed me. You can already tell by the way I grew up. So now I was going to get that emotional validation. And who better? Remember I said at the beginning how when I became a mother, I experienced a love that I had never experienced before. Oh, I leaned in and I milked that experience. I milked it. In fact, all my emotions were now centered towards my children. The disappointments of life where my marriage was not giving me that emotional satisfaction, I got it from my children. Yes, because that's where I felt I was relevant. Remember, children will always need you, right? I mean, and you're that person they come to. And so where else to get fulfillment than from your children? And I loved it and I enjoyed it. Allah, is there a problem? They grew up. They went from being infants to toddlers to young adults to college. And there's another reality that hits you when now your kids are growing up and you start having to expose them to experiences where they have to be independent. And, you know, like driving, like the first time they catch their own public transportation, like the first time you let them cook on their own, the first time they have to handle a knife, the first time they have to do something we would consider dangerous, right? There is something that starts to speak to you at the back of your head that you have to start letting go. And it's not easy. And I know many of us parents, we want to hold on. So we kind of want to do those things for them because we're not ready to let go. We're not ready for our children to face the world. We're not ready to allow them to grow that muscle so that they can fly out on their own. And my kids always laugh at me. They say I'm that mother who threw them in the deep end. And while I did that in some areas, there are others I held on to. And I want to say more emotionally, I held on to my children. I don't think they knew it because even when I was letting them adult, I was scared on the inside. It scared me to let my daughter get on a matatu in Nairobi and go from Kasarani to town and then connect from town to Westlands where she was going to school. And sometimes I wondered, was that good parenting? You know, I don't know if you, as a parent, if you can relate for those who are parents, but there are certain experiences that make you wonder, and doubt your own parenting abilities. Yet I knew that it had been done for me in some ways, and that's what made me stronger. That's what stretched me. That's what got me out of my comfort zone. And later on, I can say some of those decisions were good decisions. But what about the decisions that I look back today and I'm not happy with? Before I get to that, there was a crisis that came later on when they left. And it didn't happen until the younger one went to college, and for the most part, she had left the nest. The older one had already left. I mean, you can tell my children have a 6.5-year gap. So I had some time. The house was quiet. No one was calling. No one was checking in on me. And hubby was on the road working. And I would call the girls and they were busy. And these children who had become the center of my life, I was not the center of theirs. And it was painful to see that, to feel that, to experience that. Yet they needed to grow. They needed to have their own lives. And at that moment, I had my own identity crisis. And I started to look at my parenting journey and ask myself some difficult questions. One of the questions I asked myself, did I do this right? And let me share with you some of the things I did right and some of the things that I wish I could have done differently. One thing that I can tell you that I have learned that I would have done very differently is get real with myself on where I was emotionally, psychologically, and acknowledge my baggage. I feel like I didn't acknowledge my baggage until 50, and that was hard. I wish I had acknowledged my baggage at a younger age. I wish I had acknowledged my traumas much younger and gotten the help that I needed. Now, the reality though is back then, we didn't have mental health awareness the way we do today. So I may not have gotten the kind of help that I needed, but I think if I had the tools to even acknowledge some of what I had gone through, it would have made a difference. That's number one. Number two, I wish I had known that motherhood, while it's a beautiful journey and experience, it's not an identity. And I had pegged my identity to being a mother. And I had forgotten that motherhood, or let me not say I had forgotten, I didn't even know, honestly. I didn't even know that motherhood was seasonal. Now, granted, even when they leave, they still need you in a different way. Pegging my identity to motherhood was catastrophical. Is that a word? Yeah, catastrophical. That was wrong. But I come from a culture where when you become a mother, you're called Mama Jerry, you're called Mama Shiro. And it felt nice. It really did. But it's also a lie when you peg all your being into this experience. I wish I had understood that there was so much more to me, the person, than the role of being a mother, than being called Mama Jerry. I'm a proud mother, yes, but there's more to me. I am God's workmanship. Being a mother was one piece of my assignment, not the whole assignment. I wish I had understood that I was carrying destinies in my hand. I would have made more time to understand how to nurture destinies. And while I'm happy in some areas that I was able to see the paths that my children should go into, there was room for improvement. There really was. Because I felt like some areas I was so triggered, and I ended up having a level of toxicity. And that wasn't necessary, because I'm sure I brought a level of trauma to my own children. Just like it was passed down to me, I passed it down to them. I see it. I see it in some of the choices and decisions that they make. I wish I had not self-abandoned. I wish I had known or realized to ask for help, and that it's okay to ask for help, especially for someone like me who was in a system where help was not, I didn't have a support system. I could have asked for help. I could have done things a bit differently. I could have made my family, because I later got family, I could have been more transparent. I felt like I tried to be a superwoman because, again, this is a cultural limiting mindset. As a Kikuyu woman, we are supposed to be strong women. We are supposed to be these women who can handle it all. Our mothers did it. And I know so many women that did it, but they've broken due to that pressure. And I didn't need to be a superwoman. For who? For what? What was I trying to prove? I wish I had asked for help when it was easier to get the help that I needed. Yeah? And so if you're in a place where you can ask for help, get the help. There's no trophy for suffering. Imagine there isn't. Just get the help that you need. Acknowledge your traumas. Understand that you have, all of us. As a coach, I'll tell you today, I talk to women and I can tell you, we all have a level of trauma. We have traumas that we carry. We have baggage that we carry. Let's deal with our traumas, women. And let's not carry it over into our parenting experience. I wish I had loved me more. I wish I had prioritized myself more. That when I went to the grocery store and I was picking up items for the family for that week, I'd pick something that I liked to eat. It wasn't a money issue. Granted, budgets are tight when you have a new baby. I just deprioritized myself. I wished that when I had gone shopping for clothes for the children, I'd also picked something up for myself. I wish that I had not let that shoe that was calling me by name pass by. I wish that I had done my nails more, allowed myself to go for a manicure and a pedicure to a nice place, and allowed myself to be pampered. I would have made a better mother. I would have made a better wife. I would not have snapped at my children as much. I would not have expected others to love me in a way that I didn't even have the capacity to love myself. I wish I had fallen in love with this beautiful girl more and not had to wait to have 3 nervous breakdowns and still not get it. And that it took my children leaving the nest and me looking at myself in the mirror at the age of 50 and not recognizing the woman in the mirror and just turning away quickly because I couldn't even look into my own eyes. It was too painful. The years of hurt, the years of disappointment were too much. And so for you, mom out there, fall in love with you. Get yourself that new dress. Deal with your trauma. Acknowledge it. Self-care is both external and internal. And whatever you do, don't say you do you. You don't even know what that looks like until you have healed. Now, if you're speaking from a place of healing, you have done your personal development work. Yeah, but I'll tell you this, and I'll leave you with this, that even after doing years of personal development work, I cannot authoritatively say you do you, because I'm still becoming. And every day I look at the mirror and I love this girl. I love her. And even when I disappoint myself, because I do, I won't lie, I do. There are times I don't show up in the best version of myself. There are times I backslide. 50 years of not doing life as the authentic me and now learning who I am and I'm becoming, yeah, I've learned to extend grace to myself. I've learned to fall in love with me. I've learned to eat that ice cream and just go to the grocery store and buy myself some flowers and pay for that vacation and enroll in another class. I'm always learning. My coaches, I've been through so many classes and I'll never stop, because as long as God gives me breath, I know that there is a better me on the inside that each coach brings out. So I want to encourage you. Discover who you are. Fall in love with you. Prioritize yourself. Don't look for external validation. Own your story. Own your journey. And until next time, this is me, Coach Korry.